In medieval times, it was the necessarium. Today, it's the washroom. But no matter what we might call it, we know what we mean. The history of the toilet is fascinating. The problem seems to have occupied many great minds through the years. Now, I'm only allowed to quote brief passages from this book in criticism. Nice book. In days of old, the various appliances that passed for toilets discharged directly into a stream or moat. That should explain why the attacking armies didn't simply swim the moat. And anyone who longs for the good old days should check out Leonardo da Vinci's proposal for 10 new towns. He suggested the use of spiral staircases to prevent the sanitary misuse of the stair landings. It's hard to credit the invention of the flush toilet to any one person. In a way, it's still being invented. In British toilet lore, the name George Jennings is prominent. He seems to have invented the pay toilet, which he called a halting station. And one of his conveniences which nature demands won a prize in 1884 for flushing, in one flush, 10 apples averaging 1.25 inches in diameter, a flat sponge about 4.5 inches in diameter, plumber's smudge coated over the bowl, and 4 pieces of paper adhering closely to the soiled surface. By 1890, there were 3 types of toilet in use: the valve closet, the washout closet, and the wash-down closet. This picture of a valve closet called the Optimus might explain why few have survived. Most of our 20th century closets are the wash-down type. The author of Clean and Decent, Lawrence Wright, credits a Mr. D.T. Bostel with its invention, about 1889. There are currently a lot of variations on the basic washout concept. Whatever the style, though, they all rely on a sudden inrush of water. The contents of a toilet tank are probably well known. Who among us hasn't gotten out of bed at 3 a.m. to adjust that float? This is a pretty common tank. When you push the flush handle, the flush valve actuator raises and starts water rushing out of a hole in the bottom of the tank. Once the flush valve is up, it stays up due to its design. As the water level drops, the float rides down with it, opening the water inlet. Replacement water comes into the tank through a small diameter pipe. That small pipe can't compete with the large hole at the bottom, so the tank continues to empty. When the water level falls almost to the bottom, the flush valve can fall back into place from its own weight, and the tank refills for the next flush. This is half of my favorite toilet. It's a good flusher and it's low cost. 2 things I appreciate in a toilet. Its model name is the Plebe, but don't let its lowly name fool you. It's actually a reverse trap, vortex action, jet assist toilet. See, the sewer's a smelly place, so all of the sinks and toilets in a house have traps. On a sink, the trap's found underneath. With a toilet, the trap's an integral part. The trap traps water. This is the connection to the sewer down here, and this is the basic route from the bowl to the sewer. While waiting for a flush, water gets trapped here. This keeps water in the bowl and blocks dangerous and disgusting gases from wafting up from the sewer. When you activate the tank, water rushes in through this hole and starts to flow around the rim. Under the rim are some angled holes. Water enters the bowl through these holes with a swirling motion. Once the water level's high enough to flow over this dam, a siphon action starts. That siphon action is aided by this restriction that speeds up the flow. The whole thing causes suction to empty the bowl. Now at the same time, water is still flowing around the rim over to the front, where it falls down this channel and shoots past the bottom of the bowl, adding energy to the flush. This channel and hole are the jet assist. When the bowl clears, air rushing in here breaks the siphon action, and the bowl refills from the last bit of water from the flush. Different styles of bowls have different flush actions. This one's a vortex action luxury product. The bowl's cleared by the powerful swirling action from the holes under the rim. It's the quietest style. This one's a siphon jet. It's a little different. Water first enters the jet passage, starting the siphonic action that empties the bowl. After the jet gets things going, water backs up in the passage and flows out into the rim, where the swirling action scours the bowl. There are pros and cons to each design. Some use more water, and some are quieter than others. But no matter what the style, this is where the crossword puzzle pencil gets stuck. Now, it'll start its own collection of stuff and clog the whole works. You should keep the pencil on the bathtub, not on top of the toilet tank. All in all, it's a pretty marvelous device, particularly when you consider the alternatives. Have you ever thought about how many toilets you've seen in your lifetime? I've seen thousands, mostly last week. The first thing you notice in a toilet plant is a lot of toilets. Officially, this is a vitreous china operation. China is a mixture of clays and other earthy ingredients that's turned solid by firing in a very hot kiln. Toilets start their life on the roof of this plant and in underground wells. Turning clay into toilets is a tricky operation. An automated bunch of controls carefully measures and mixes huge batches of the clay. The ingredients are formed into a liquid called slip. The exact mixture and the water content of the slip are critical. It has to be liquid enough to be poured into molds, yet ready to go solid. It's called the edge of stability. This lab monitors the characteristics of the slip. This machine measures the modulus of rupture, how hard it is to break when dry. There are a whole bunch of tests performed here, from viscosity to moisture content in the finished product. From the mixer and into the sieve, it's under the floor, where the slip is ready to meet the molds. The liquid clay slip is cast into shape in plaster molds. So if you want to start your own toilet plant, all you need is some slip, some molds, and a few magicians. There are two facts of life in the vitreous china biz: shrink and slump. By the time the original piece leaves the kiln, it will have shrunk about 12%. And as well as shrinking in all directions, the soft clay slumps under its own weight.